بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم ما بعد. Continuing with this third session now of the beginning of guidance, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, he's talking about the things we need to protect ourselves in regard to, and we come on to the next body part, Amma lisan, the tongue. So now we're talking about the tongue. He says, فَإِنَّمَا خُلِقَ لَكَ لِتُكْثِرَ بِهِ ذِكْرَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. This tongue of yours was created so that you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've always said Imam Ghazali will start off nice and easy. This tongue is created that you excessively remember Allah. وَتِلَاوَةَ كِتَابِهِ. You recite His book, you recite the Quran. وَتُرْشِدَ بِهِ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. And that you guide people, guide the slaves of Allah, إِلَى طَرِيقِهِ, towards goodness, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَتُظْهِرَ بِهِ مَا فِي ضَمِيرِكَ مِنْ حَاجَاتِ دِينِكَ وَدُنْيَاكَ. But you know, this tongue, it's not only used in those things where you're connecting people to Allah, you're worshipping Allah, but you also use this tongue to request your needs, your necessities. Sometimes you'll say, I want this or I need this. And so your tongue, there's a benefit in the akhirah, in the hereafter. There's a benefit in this world also. فَإِذَا اسْتَعْمَلْتَهُ لِغَيْرِ مَا خُلِقَ لَكَ. He says, these are the good things. But now let's talk about what you shouldn't use the tongue for. But he says, فَإِذَا اسْتَعْمَلْتَهُ لِغَيْرِ مَا خُلِقَ لَكَ. If you use this tongue in those things which it was not created for, فَقَدْ كَفَرْتَ بِنِعْمَةِ اللَّهِ. We've heard this before, and he said this before. He says, you have now shown a lack of appreciation for this blessing of Allah. This kafarta word has come again, the word kufr. You have committed kufr, meaning, what does kufr mean? You have shown a lack of appreciation regarding this blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهُوَ أَغْلَبُ أَعْضَائِكَ عَلَيْكَ. This tongue of yours is the most capable of overpowering you. وَعَلَى سَائِرِ الْخَلْقِ. And it is the most capable of overpowering somebody else. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah indicates to a very, very serious point here. He goes that if you grip somebody and you force somebody to do something, they'll do what you want. But they'll do it for as long as you force them. But with this tongue, it's so powerful that you can convince somebody to do something which they didn't want to do. You can speak to them and convince them this way and that way and this way and that way. And the way the tongue works is you can convince somebody and overpower somebody. And this tongue will overpower you as well. Somebody else will come and say, you should do this. Or they might not even have to say you need to do this. They'll just give an indication. They'll just make a sly comment and you'll think, hey, what's he saying? And then he'll make you do an action. And so he says this tongue is very, very compelling. وَلَا يَكُبُّ النَّاسُ فِي النَّارِ عَلَى مَنَاخِرِهِمْ إِلَّا حَصَائِدُ أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi warns. He says the majority of the people who will be thrown headfirst into the fire will be because of this tongue. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is setting the seed. Remember, Imam Ghazali doesn't just say this, and then finish. He'll break it down. But he's just setting the seed. He's saying that remember this tongue. It has massive benefit, but it also has massive harm. Know that we're not talking about something basic here. We're talking about something which can cause serious damage. فَاسْتَظْهِرْ عَلَيْهِ بِغَايَةِ قُوَّتِكَ. Imam Ghazali says, seek victory over this tongue. بِغَايَةِ قُوَّتِكَ. With every ounce, with every iota of strength you have within you. He says it's not easy. It's not just a case of I need to do this. You better be using every force within your body to bring control over this tongue. حَتَّى لَا يَكُبَّكَ فِي قَعْرِ جَهَنَّمٍ. To save yourself from being thrown into the pits of the fire. ففي الحديث, it comes in a hadith, إن الرجل ليتكلم بالكلمة. There's an individual who speaks and he speaks بالكلمة. With this single statement of his, he'll say بالكلمة, a single statement, فيهوي بها في جهنم 70 خريفا. He will throw himself a depth of the fire of Jahannam of 70 years. Really just stop and ponder. How damaging can this tongue be? One single statement plunged 70 years into the fire of Jahannam. And Imam Ghazali is explicitly using these narrations to start with, to really give us, when you want to explain to somebody, when you take over a class, the old teacher won't say to you, this student is good and this student is, they'll say, look out for this one, and this one. When you're warning somebody and you're serious, you'll say, look out for these ones. Imam Ghazali is saying this as well. That there's the benefits is this and this. But look, more important than that is what you need to understand is there is massive, massive harm in this tongue. وَقُتِلَ شَهِيدٌ فِي الْمَعَرِكَةِ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah mentions an incident, and there was an individual who was martyred in a battle. فَقَالَ قَائِلٌ, an individual said in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, هَنِيئًا لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ, هَنِيئًا لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. glad tidings. How lucky is this person? He'll be going to Jannah. He'll be going to paradise. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, وما يدريك? How do you know he's going Jannah? He's a martyr. He's somebody who's given his life for the path of Allah. The Prophet says, وما يدريك? How do you know he's in paradise? لعله كان يتكلم فيما لا يعنيه. It's possible he was an individual who would speak in regards to those things he had no concern. He wouldn't mind his own business. He would speak in other people's affairs. How do you know? If he had this one quality in him, forget being a martyr. Don't talk about Jannah if for this individual. If you speak regarding that which doesn't concern you, this is what the Prophet ﷺ is saying. فَاحْفَظْ لِسَانَكَ مِنْ ثَمَانِيَةِ أَشْيَاءٍ. Imam Ghazali has set the scene. Be very, very careful regarding this tongue. But then he says, look, let me tell you now. There's 8 things you need to control. Control these 8 things when it comes to your tongue, you'll be okay. So now Imam Ghazali is giving you a checklist. He set the scene, be very careful regarding the tongue. Now he's saying, get your pens and papers out, get your mobiles out and start making notes. And he's saying that these 8 things, make sure you're protecting yourself from these 8 things. Al-awwal, al-kadhib. The first thing Imam Ghazali prefaces with, lying. Do not use this tongue in lies. We've heard it 101 times. Don't lie, don't lie, don't lie. Imam Ghazali says, let's start fresh. Forget what anybody else has said. Really sit here and make this intention. With this tongue I will never speak a lie. فَاحْفَظْ لِسَانَكَ مِنْهُ فِي الْجَدِّ وَالْحَزْلِ. Don't use this tongue for lying, whether it's a joke or whether you're being serious. Whether you are serious regarding a situation and you say, no, wallahi, it wasn't me. Or whether you're joking, as a joke you lie. Imam Ghazali says, neither of these situations. وَلَا تُعَوِّدْ نَفْسَكَ الْكَذِبَ هَزَلًا. Don't make your tongue accustomed to lying as a joke, just to make people laugh. فَيَتَدَاعَى إِلَى الْجِدِّ. Why? When you start lying in your jokes and these things, you'll end up lying in your truth, in your genuine statements. It's tadreej, it's gradual. It's gradual. Nobody starts off a sinner of every sin. This is gradual. Imam Ghazali says you'll start joking and you'll start lying whilst you're joking, but it will lead to more serious situations and you'll lie in those. When you do something, it becomes less serious. Imam Ghazali is saying the same thing. فَيَتَدَاعَى إِلَى الْجِدِّ فَالْكَذِبُ مِنْ أُمَّهَاتِ الْكَبَائِرِ. He says that lying is from the mother of the major sins. It's from the mother of evils. It's from the major things you should be protecting yourself from. ثُمَّ إِنَّكَ إِذَا عُرِفْتَ بِذَلِكَ. And he says, forget now all of this that I've said. As humans, we're always concerned about what will this person think, what will this person think. Imam Ghazali says, let's look at it from a social perspective. ثُمَّ إِنَّكَ إِذَا عُرِفْتَ بِذَلِكَ. What if you are recognized by people as a liar? What if you were known by the community that this person is a liar? What if that was the stage? سَقَطَتِ الثِّقَةُ بِقَوْلِكَ. People will lose confidence in what you have to say. People won't trust you. The boy who cried wolf. وَتَزْدَرِيكَ الْأَعْيُنُ وَتَحْتَقِرُكَ. People will look down at you. People will despise you. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, fine, maybe you're not concerned about your hereafter, but at least in this world, imagine you are that guy who always lies. This guy, he always lies. You can't trust him, man. Forget it. Ask somebody else. One of the فَإِذَا أَرَدْتَ أَن تَعْرِفَ قُبْحَ الْكَذِبِ مِن نَفْسِكَ. But Imam Ghazali says, maybe you've not understood how bad it really is. Because when you always look at yourself, you justify it. As humans, we do this to ourselves. We make excuses. We justify things in our hearts. Imam Ghazali says, if you've not really understood yet, and you've not yet recognized how despised lying is, فَانظُرْ إِلَى كَذِبِ غَيْرِكَ وَإِلَى نَفْرَةِ نَفْسِكَ عَنْهُ. Then if you don't really understand yet, then look at somebody else who lies. And you ask yourself, how do you feel with this person when he lies? For the parents, when your children lie to you and you know they're lying to you, how much do you despise that quality in your child? You'll say to your child that say the truth. No matter what you've done, I'll forgive you. What you're saying to the child is, no matter what you've done, no matter how bad it is, but just don't lie. The lying is so despised that we'll say to our children that just tell me the truth and I'll let you off. And they'll tell you the truth and you say, see, you said the truth, I won't do anything to you. And you'll hold your word to it. And Imam Ghazali says, if you really want to understand how despised and despicable lying is, look at when somebody else lies to you. When somebody comes to you and they've said something to somebody else and they come to you and say something and you already know that this person is lying. How do you feel? What's this guy? Who is he trying to play? What is he lying to me for? Does he think I don't know? The anger you feel, Imam Ghazali says, you won't recognize how bad something is when you're looking at it from your own self, looking within yourself. فَانْظُرْ إِلَىٰ كَذِبِ غَيْرِكَ. Look towards this lying when somebody else does it. وَإِلَىٰ نَفْرَةِ نَفْسِكَ عَنْهُ. And how much you despise this person. وَاسْتِحْقَارِكَ لِصَاحِبِهِ. How much you revile this person. وَاسْتِقْبَاحِكَ لَهُ. How much you are repelled by this individual. وَكَذَلِكَ فَافْعَلْ فِي جَمِيعِ عُيُوبِ نَفْسِكَ. Do this with every single shortcoming in your life. Don't look at it that I have this shortcoming in my life. Look at it when you see it in somebody else. When you see this sin in somebody else's life, this failing in somebody else's life, how does that make you feel? That Imam Ghazali says, فَإِنَّكَ لَا تَدْرِي عُيُوبِكَ مِن نَفْسِكَ بَلْ مِنْ غَيْرِكَ. You won't recognize the filth of a sin until you see it in somebody else. فَمَا اسْتَقْبَحْتَهُ مِنْ غَيْرِكَ فَيَسْتَقْبِحُ غَيْرُكَ. Min kalama halata. He says 100%. If you dislike it in somebody else, guaranteed la mahalata, somebody will dislike it in you. If you don't like seeing this quality in somebody else, do you think somebody likes to see this quality in you? And Ghazali says, فَلَا تَرْضَ لِنَفْسِكَ بِذَلِكَ. Don't be happy with this. Don't be satisfied with this situation. Don't be content that, it's okay, don't worry about it. Abdullah radiallahu ta'ala narrates and he says from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam regarding truthfulness. He says, عَلَيْكُمْ بِالصِّدْقِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, this is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And wallahi, when you read some of these hadith, externally you're thinking, it doesn't make sense in some instances. But the words of the Prophet ﷺ are wahi, revelation. It means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us this advice. Listen to this advice. عَلَيْكُمْ بِالصِّدْقِ. For myself first, and hold firm to truthfulness. فَإِنَّ الصِّدْقَ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْبِرِّ. Truthfulness will lead you to good. Al-birr wa inna al-birra yahdi ila al-jannah, and good will lead you to paradise. Very simple. And he says, وَمَا يَزَالُ الرَّجُلُ. And if that's not good enough for you, وَمَا يَزَالُ الرَّجُلُ. A person continues يَصْدُقُ. He continues saying the truth. وَيَتَحَرَّى. And he continues encouraging us sidq, truthfulness. حَتَّى يُكْتَبَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ صِدِّيقًا. Until he is written in the courts of Allah, this person is a siddiq, this person is a truthful individual. In the courts of Allah, Allah will deem you as a truthful person. Forget what the people think. Forget what other people have to say. My Allah sees me as truthful. What could be greater than this? And then the Prophet ﷺ says, وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَالْكَذِبِ. The word إِيَّاكُمْ is used when something frightful, when there's a lion, you say, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْأَسَدِ. He says, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْكَذِبِ. Fear lying. Beware of lying. Be very, very cautious with lies. فَإِنَّ الْكَذِبَ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْفُجُورِ. That lying leads to sins, leads to evil. وَإِنَّ الْفُجُورَ يَهْدِي إِلَى النَّارِ. Very simple. These sins and this evil will lead you to the fire. We are sat here for what reason? Why are we sat here? Every single one of you, why are you sat here? Why am I sat here? I'm not sat here for any other reason other than I want to enter paradise. And I want to save myself from the fire. Because the reality is, once we are buried under this ground, the reality comes in front of us. It's Jannah or Nar. It's paradise or the fire of hell. One or the other. There's no third option. There's no middle ground for us. It's Jannah or Jahannam. We are sat here to put ourselves to Jannah. The Prophet ﷺ says, sidq. If I am sincere in my yearning for paradise, I will be truthful from today. Truthfulness, it will lead me to good. The Prophet ﷺ continues this hadith. وَمَا يَزَالُ الرَّجُلْ يَكْذِبُ. A person continues lying and continues lying and continues lying. وَيَتَحَرَّى الْكَذِبُ. Not only does this person lie, he encourages lying. It's okay, just falsify these documents. It's okay, just don't worry about it, inshallah. Don't worry about it, do it. حَتَّى يُكْتَبَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَذَّابًا. Until he is written in the courts of Allah, this person is a liar. Narration found in Bukhari and Muslim. Allah deems this person a liar. Allah deems this person a liar. How severe is that? Hassan ibn Ali radiallahu ta'ala who mentions that he heard from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَإِنَّ الصِّدْقَ طَمْأَنِينَ. A truthfulness will bring within you طَمْأَنِينَ, peace. وَالْكَذِبُ رِيبَةٌ. And lies will bring doubt, confusion, concern. Always looking over your shoulder. Always worried. Oh, will I get caught? Will I get caught? This constant tension you bring onto yourself. The truth. And for the youngsters, never put yourself in a position where you have to lie. That's the solution. Don't put yourself in a position where you have to say, no, I was doing this. Don't put yourself in a position where you have to lie. Put yourself in positions where you have to say the truth. Now, there are in Sharia some instances where you can lie. And in actual fact, in Sharia, in our religion, it's advised to lie in some situations. For example, bringing two people together. It comes in a hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Kulthum narrates, it's found in Bukhari. She says the Prophet Sallallahu said, لَيْسَ الْكَذَّابِ الَّذِي يَصْلُحُ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ يُصْلِحُ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. That person who brings people together with lies isn't somebody who's lying in reality. فَيَنْمِي خَيْرًا أَوْ يَقُولْ خَيْرًا. So for example, he goes to this individual and he says, he knows they've had a disagreement. He'll say to this person, he was actually saying good stuff about you. So what do you mean he was saying good stuff about me? Him? I'm being serious. He was praising me. He says, oh. He says, yeah, he was. Then you go to this person and you say, hey, he was mentioning that you're not too bad. You're a half decent person. You're okay. So you're saying to this guy, then they won't instantly come and hug each other, but the animosity kind of reduces. The next time they see each other, Assalamu alaikum. So he's all right, man. He's all right. And then, subhanAllah, you put two people together. In instances where you can bring two people together, lying is permissible. But the problem with us is we're too busy lying to split people apart. That's the problem with us. That, oh, he said this about you, He was saying this and he said this and he said this. Really? Yeah. He's in front of everybody as well. And then you go to this guy and say, I didn't tell him, just between us, yeah. But, he was saying this about you. This is what we're busy in. And when we came across this hadith, one of our teachers, when he was teaching this hadith, he would joke and say that because he was teaching students, he says that, this hadith, apply it for when your wife asks you, how do I look? How does this dress look? If it doesn't look good, lie. What that means is if there's something wrong with it, that's different. But if it's a matter of your taste and you can see that she's really happy and she's excited and she's got a smile on her face, and how does this look? And you say, I don't like the color. Now you'll have to give a justification why you don't like the color. And you'll end up saying, I personally wouldn't wear it. What do you mean you wouldn't wear it? Obviously you wouldn't wear it. Then a disagreement. And same with the sisters. If the husband says something like, do I look hench or something like that? Allah knows best what people say. Yeah. You look great. You look great. In this, our teachers would joke and they would say that even in these instances, to bring people together, not to cause disagreements, not to cause fights between each other, and in these situations, you look amazing. Never seen you looking better. Something like that, inshallah. So, فَلَا تَرْضَ لِنَفْسِكَ بِذَلِكَ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, lying. He says, lying, protect yourself from lying. Protect yourself from lying. Don't put yourself in a situation where you have to lie, inshallah. We make this intention, inshallah. From today, we'll never lie. Jordan Peterson, I've mentioned him before, he's an academic. I was reading one of his books, 12 Rules for Life recently. And one of his rules is don't lie. Don't lie. Lying is you shirking responsibility. If you do an action, that means you take responsibility of the action. And so when you are about to do the action, ask yourself, if somebody was to ask me, did you do this action? If you cannot say with confidence, yes, I did this action, and you have to make up a story, reconsider whether you should do that action. Lying is you shirking responsibility, saying, nothing to do with me. Pass the blame on. So number one, we'll never lie. Imam Ghazali says, الثاني الخلف في الوعد. الخلف في الوعد. Breaking a promise. Breaking a promise. Promising something and not carrying it through. فإياك أن تعد بشيء إلا وتفي به. Imam Ghazali again, إياك. Listen, be very careful. أن تعد بشيء. Be careful that you don't promise something except that you fulfill it. Bal, Imam Ghazali says, you know what? He's speaking to his students. He's speaking to us as his students. He says, I know you guys. You make promises as humans. We make promises as humans. I'll give you a better solution. ينبغي أن يكون إحسانك للناس فعلا بلا قولا. Don't make promises. What you should do is let your actions speak louder than your words. He says, بل ينبغي أن يكون إحسانك للناس فعلا بلا قول. Don't say, I'll give you this and I'll get you this and I'll get you this, and then you don't do anything. Let your actions speak. Don't say anything. Get it them, and they'll realize, hey, this person's legit. Because why do you have to make a promise? Ask yourself the psychology behind the promise. If I say to somebody, inshallah, tomorrow I'll call you. If you're a trustworthy person and he knows that this person is genuine, he won't say anything further. But if you say, I'll call you tomorrow, and he says, come on, please, don't forget. You always forget, man. Please call me. And say, no, I'll call you, man. You say that, but you forget. Wallahi, I promise I'll call you. That's when the promise has to come. Why? Because previously you weren't somebody who could be trusted. So Imam Ghazali says that the only reason you're having to make a promise is to convince this person. But as a Muslim, our word, our promise should be convincing enough. We shouldn't have to add the promise on. The promise is just a bonus thing to say, no, I'm serious about what I'm saying. When somebody's talking to you and they say, no, seriously, I always ask that also everything before this wasn't serious? Of course you mean seriously. But what you're trying to say is, no, I'm being serious now. Yani, please, trust me. You should be in a situation as a Muslim that you say something and somebody says, his word is as good as his promise. He doesn't need to take a qasam. He doesn't need to take a promise. And Ghazali says, become that kind of a person. فَإِذَا اضْطُرِرْتَ إِلَى الْوَعْدِ If you are compelled and you really have to make a promise. Idtirar is the word in Arabic, absolute necessity. Ghazali is saying, don't be wallahi every second sentence. He's saying, if you are absolutely necessary, you now have to say to this person, no, honestly, take my word, I promise you. Don't worry about it. The person's tense. He's constantly, people are tricking him and lying to him, and then he comes to you and he says, please, look, just give me your word. Trust me, I promise. In that instance, you have to give it. Then it's فَإِيَّاكَ أَن تُخْلِفَ إِلَّا لِعَجْزٍ أَوْ ضَرُورَةٍ Make sure you don't break this promise. But he says there's two instances you might have to. لِعَجْزٍ In a situation where it's beyond your control. For example, you promise this person that I'll give you £100 tomorrow, and he passes away. You can't give him £100 now. You don't give it to the family members, etc., something like that. Ask the local fuqaha the process. But I'm saying that this promise has to now be broken because of necessity. It's not in your control. أو ضرورة. Somebody puts a knife to you and says, promise me that you're going to hurt this person. You say yes, and then you quickly run to the police and say, hey, this person said this to me, and you broke that promise. But it was ضرورة, it was necessity. That you had to say in that moment to save yourself. And so فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَمَارَاتِ النِّفَاقِ وَخَبَائِثِ الْأَخْلَاقِ That Imam Ghazali says that breaking a promise is from the worst signs of nifaq. Hypocrisy. Yani you say something and you do something else. It's from the worst of akhlaq. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, says, ثَلَاثٌ مَنْ كُنَّ فِيهِ فَهُوَ مُنَافِقٌ An individual who finds three qualities within themselves. This person is a hypocrite. Somebody who's a hypocrite, he says one thing, he does something. وَإِن صَامَ وَصَلَّى Even if they are 5 times salah prayers, even if they fast in Ramadan, let them be on the first saf, let them be the imam, whoever they are. 3 qualities in an individual. If these are found, they are munafiq, they're hypocrite. Man إِذَا حَدَّثَ كَذَبَ When he speaks, he lies. When he speaks, he lies. There's a massive reason for us to stop lying. Number 2, وَإِذَا وَعَدَ أَخْلَفَ When he makes a promise, he breaks that promise. And I'll do this, and I'll do that, and they give you a list, they break the promise. And وَإِذَا تُمِنَ خَانَ When they are entrusted with something, they don't fulfill their trust. They can't be trusted. They deceive an individual. You say to them, look after this for me, and you can't trust them. You say to somebody, here, look after my mobile, and you walk off, and they're going through your mobile, and you come back and you're, what are you doing? وَإِذَا تُمِنَ خَانَ Nifaq, hypocrisy. That you externally show one thing and you internally hide something else. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, make sure that you do not give a promise and break a promise. Make sure you do your best not to even give a promise. Become an individual who is trustworthy. We live in a time where you can, on your mobile, you can make notes. On your mobile, you can put reminders and this and everything. And if you say to somebody, and I'm talking work as well, those of us who are working and working individuals, when you say to somebody, you give a deadline, fulfill that deadline. Become somebody who people can rely on. Coming on time. Asians, we're known for Asian timing is a phrase. We're known for coming late for something. Right? Weddings. When I was young, initially when we'd go for weddings, my parents would say, I'd see the wedding invite and we'll go an hour late. We're going to miss the food and we're going to miss everything. And no, that's the time they put. Everything starts out. You get there and the food hasn't arrived yet. Asian time, become somebody who's punctual, somebody you can trust with time. If they say 11 o'clock, be there 10:55. And the problem, same problem we discussed last time, procrastination. You're not late because you are busy. You're late because you're on your mobile. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Just I'll get the bus and this. And then we'll make excuse. Oh, the bus was late, or this was late, or this was delayed, and we'll have some excuse. Punctuality, all of these things comes under this. That when you give somebody your word, you say, I'll be there, be there, inshallah. Number 3, Imam Ghazali says the third thing we need to protect our tongue from, al-ghiba. Al-ghiba. He says, ghiba, backbiting. Out of all of them, this is the one he goes into massive detail. And it's amazing the way he breaks this down. He says, احفظ لسانك من الغيبة. Protect your tongue, safeguard your tongue from backbiting. ومعنى الغيبة, and he defines غيبة. What is backbiting? What is backbiting? أن تذكر إنسانا بما يكرهه لو سمعه. That you say something regarding an individual, if they were to hear about it, they wouldn't like it. فأنت مغتاب ظالم وإن كنت صادقا. The definition, you say something regarding somebody that they wouldn't like, even if you are saying the truth. For example, oh, this person, he's useless at football. He breaks his legs all the time, or this or that. You make some sort of a comment like this. It's, even if you're truthful, فأنت مغتاب ظالم. Where's Yusuf? فأنت مغتاب ظالم. Then you are somebody who's oppressive, a zalim. مغتاب, you are a backbiter. You've fallen in that category of somebody who backbites. You're saying the truth, doesn't matter. You offending that person, you hurt that person, ghiba. You become somebody who does ghiba. وَإِيَّاكَ, and he says again, be very careful. وَغِيبَةَ الْقُرَّاءِ الْمُرَائِينَ. You know, he says that there's that ghiba where you publicly say to somebody, that you say, this guy's like this. But there's a second type of ghiba, which we're all aware of. And he says, this is the ghiba of the reciters who like to show off. The qurra. In those times, in the time of Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, the qurra, the reciters, the people who read the Quran, they were seen as somebody who's respectable. But they were only reciters. We're not talking the scholars, the reciters of the time. They would have good tunes, they would have read the Quran, and they would benefit from this, either money or this or whatever they would benefit. So he says, you know, they have a special type of ghiba, a special type of backbiting. What's their type of backbiting? وَهُوَ بِأَن تُفْهِمَ الْمَقْصُودِ مِنْكَ مِنْ غَيْرِ تَسْرِيحٍ. They'll let you know what they want to say without being explicit. And he gives an example. They'll be sat with their boys and they'll say regarding another person, أَصْلَحَهُ اللَّهُ. May Allah give this person the opportunity to fix his ways. وَقَدْ سَاءَنِي. Really, it hurts me when مَا جَرَى عَلَيْهِ, the things he's going through. وَغَمَّنِي, it really saddens me. فَأَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ يُصْلِحَنَا وَإِيَّهُ. May Allah fix us and fix them also. And he's giving an example. What you've said through this is you've indicated towards a massive fault in this person. You said, you pretend to be sincere, but what you're saying is, it's such a shame. You know, this person, he was such a good person. Now he's involved in this sin. May Allah guide us and guide him as well. You make it look like you're so pious. You're making dua for this person, so much concern that, I feel so grieved by his situation. But in essence, all you wanted to do was say, did you know this person's involved in this? Did you know this person's involved in that? Somebody's gambling and you say, may Allah fix his affairs. He's such a good person, but he gambles. He's got this good quality, this good quality, this good. You didn't know? May Allah guide us and guide him also, you know. You slipped it in. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, do not be fooled. فَإِنَّ هَذَا جَمْعٌ بَيْنَ خَبِيثَيْن. The first person who's explicit in his ghiba, in his backbiting, that person's a fool. But the person who does it like this, implicitly, he's mixing two sins. He's mixing two reprehensible acts. أحدهما الغيبة, the first one, he's backbiting. إذا حصل به التفهم. Why? Because the person's understood what you're trying to say. You're trying to indicate that this person is like this or this person. So you've conveyed your message. You've hurt, that person's feelings would be hurt. Well, and what's the second harm you're doing? He says, تزكية النفس. What you are doing is you're praising yourself. وَالثَّنَاءُ عَلَيْهَا. You're giving virtue to yourself. That you're making yourself look pious. That, you know, may Allah guide this person. He's so far away. And people think that, subhanAllah, is making dua for this person. Look how sincere he is. Subhanallah. وَالثَّنَاءُ عَلَيْهِ بِالتَّحَرُّجِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. That you are pretending to be sincere, but at the same time you're passing judgment on somebody else. وَلَكِنْ, Imam Ghazali says, you really think you're being sincere? Let's test your intentions. He says, إِن كَانَ مَقْصُودُكَ مِنْ قَوْلِكَ أَصْلَحَهُ اللَّهُ الدُّعَاءِ. If your dua was sincere, why did you have to say it in front of somebody else? Who are you making dua to, the person or to Allah? فَدْعُوا لَهُ فِي السِّرِّ. You could have made the same dua in private. Why did you have to make it in public? Why did you have to say it out loud? You could have said it in your mind. You could have gone in the corner of your home with sincerity and made dua, Allah guide this person. But you chose to say it in public. It shows that there's a lacking of sincerity. وَإِنِ اغْتَمَمْتَ بِسَبَبِهِ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, if you were really saddened, Imam Ghazali is not going to let you go. Because Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, if somebody sings, Imam Ghazali will mention, don't do ghiba, backbiting. What Imam Ghazali hates and this is something we should hate, is somebody who pretends to do good under the guise of evil. Imam Ghazali will break this person apart. He says, وَإِنِ اغْتَمَمْتَ بِسَبَبٍ. You said you were saddened. You were so grieved by this person. If you are really sullen, فَعَلَامَتُهُ أَنَّكَ لَا تُرِيدُ فَضِيحَتَهُ وَإِظْهَارَ عَيْبِهِ. And if you were genuinely sincere, then you wouldn't have tried to disgrace him and publicly open his faults like this. What kind of a person does this? وَفِي إِظْهَارِكَ الْغَمْ بِعَيْبِهِ. This fake pretense of your concern, you have this fake pretense that I'm concerned for this person. In reality, إِظْهَارٌ لِعَيْبِهِ. You're bringing his faults out. What are you talking about that you're saddened and you're grieved by this individual? وَيَكْفِيكَ زَاجِرًا عَنِ الْغِيبَةِ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi say, sufficient for you is the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, or the statement of Allah subhanahu in the Quran, وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا. Do not backbite one another. أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَن يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. Would you like that you eat the dead flesh of your brother? فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. You would dislike it. Imam Ghazali, فَقَدْ شَبَّهَكَ اللَّهُ بِآكِلِ الْمَيْتَةِ. Eating dead flesh. Like really, the Quran is vivid for a reason. The Quran, why is it so vivid and so severe? Because the Quran is saying it would be better for you to eat a dead person's flesh and for you to backbite your Muslim brother, because the effects of this eating this dead person's flesh, it won't affect the dead person, it will affect you. Your backbiting about this person will not only affect you, but it will affect this person, it will affect the person listening, it will affect society as an entirety. It's better for you to eat the dead person's flesh, which none of us would do. Imam Ghazali is saying, and Allah is saying, that you would never even think for a moment to do this. That even if you were at the brink of starvation, you would hate to eat this flesh. Allah says, and Imam Ghazali is indicating that you're happy to backbite, you're happy to cause this level of harm. فَمَا أَجْدَرَكَ أَن تَحْتَرِزَ مِنْهَا. What Imam Ghazali says, what can I say more to give you sense that we stop backbiting? What more can I say? If Allah has said this, what more do you want from me? What more can I say? وَيَمْنَعُكَ مِنْ غِيبَةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ أَمْرٌ لَوْ تَفَكَّرْتَ فِيهِ. But Imam Ghazali says, there's some people whose hearts are so hardened, it's not sufficient. We need to give that person we need to break him apart now. Let's see. So he says, وَيَمْنَعُكَ. There's something else that will stop you. مِنْ غِيبَةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. From backbiting Muslims. Backbiting people around. أَمْرٌ لَوْ تَفَكَّرْتَ فِيهِ. If you think about it. وَهُوَ أَن تَنْظُرَ إِلَى نَفْسِكَ. Imam Ghazali says, look within yourself. Let me speak to you. Look within yourself. هل فيك عيب ظاهر أو باطن? Do you have a fault within you which you don't like? Do you have an internal or an external fault? Do you have some sort of deficiency in your life? Ask yourself about your last 5 salah. Can you say that they were the way you want them to be? He says, forget your good deeds, look towards your sins. Is there a sin in your life which you are persistent on, which you don't like within yourself? Imam Ghazali says, وَهَلْ أَنْتَ مُقَارِفٌ مَعْصِيَةً سِرًّا أَوْ جَهْرًا. Are you committing any sins, publicly or privately? He says, no, I'll help you. You want to keep backbiting? Look within yourself. Let's see. Let's do this analysis. Is there something, and every person, I myself here, sat here, ask myself, is there some sin within my life which I don't like, which I know that is taking me further from Allah? فَإِنْ عَرَفْتَ ذَلِكَ مِنْ نَفْسِكَ. If you find something, you sit here for this 1 second, these 10 seconds, 5 seconds, and you find a sin in your life which you are persistent on and you don't like, and it's taking you further away from Allah. فَعَلَمْ أَنَّ عَجْزَهُ عَنِ التَّنَزُّهِ عَمَّا نَسَبْتَهُ إِلَيْكَ كَعَجْزِكَ. Why is that still in your life? Why haven't you removed that sin from your life? What's your excuse? Or you'll say that it's hard. It's hard. Imam Ghazali says that عَجْزَهُ, you're saying it's hard. How do you know it's not hard for him to remove that sin in his life? How do you know it's not hard for her to remove that sin from her life? You have these illnesses and these sins and these challenges in your life, and you're okay with that. And you'll give yourself justifications. وَعُذْرَهُ كَعُذْرِكَ. Isn't his justification an excuse just like your justification and your excuse? And you've made a fantastic excuse for yourself. Inshallah, I'm trying. Inshallah, one day. Inshallah, this. Imam Ghazali says, that's fine. I'm happy for you to try. I'm happy for you to keep trying. But what then gives you the audacity to then look at somebody else and not say, he might be trying, she might be trying? Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says that this is how you should approach this. وَكَمَا تَكْرَهُ أَن تُفْضَحْ وَتُذْكَرْ عُيُوبُكَ. And the same way you would hate to be shamed, and you would hate for your sins to be exposed, and you would hate for this quality of yours to be exposed. فهو أيضا يكرهه. Do you not think he dislikes it also? Subhanallah, Imam Ghazali's approach. Take the point, stop pointing the finger at somebody else and look at yourself. Let me look at myself. Let us look at ourselves. فَإِن سَتَرْتَهُ سَتَرَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى عَلَيْكَ. If you hide this person's sins, Allah will hide your sins. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala narrates a hadith from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, narrated by Imam Muslim. مَنْ نَفَّسَ عَنْ مُؤْمِنٍ كُرْبَةً مِنْ كُرَبِ الدُّنْيَا نَفَّسَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ كُرْبَةً مِنْ كُرَبِ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. A Muslim, a believer who relieves a difficulty from an individual in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove a difficulty for him on the day of judgment. وَمَنْ يَسَّرَ عَلَى مُعْسِرٍ يَسَّرَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. If somebody owes you money and you know they're struggling, and you let them off, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will create ease for you in this world and the hereafter. This is not me saying it. This is my Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saying it. Truthful hadith of Prophet sallallahu. What does this make you think? It makes you think that externally this person owes me £1,000. He's struggling, and he's genuinely struggling. If I let him off, Allah will give me in the akhirah. That's understood. But Allah says, no, not just the akhirah. In this world I will give you as well. I will give you in this world. I will fill your buckets and your pockets in this world, and I will fill you in the hereafter as well. Externally you're saying, it's okay, leave the £1,000. You're struggling. I can see your situation, family. You're struggling with rent. You can't do the bare basics. I'll let you off. Allah will create ease. And the final part of the hadith, وَمَنْ سَتَرَ مُسْلِمًا. A person who hides the sins, the faults of a Muslim, سَتَرَهُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Allah will hide the faults of this individual in this world and the hereafter. وَاللَّهُ فِي عَوْنِ الْعَبْدِ مَا كَانَ الْعَبْدُ فِي عَوْنِ أَخِيهِ. Allah will remain in the assistance of an individual so long as they remain in the assistance of their brothers. And for their sisters. So long as you are assisting somebody, Allah will remain assisting you. Hide the sins of others. It's really not that exciting going to somebody and saying, hey, this person's involved in this. Ask yourself, do you even remember the last time you had this conversation? You don't even remember it, but look how much harm we cause to ourselves. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, hide the sins of others. Satar Allahu ta'ala alayk. Allah will hide your faults. And wallahi, we know our faults. We know that if one of our faults was to be open, how disgraced and humiliated we would be in this world and the hereafter. Allah through His grace hides our faults. Hide the faults of others. وَإِن فَضَحْتَهُ سَلَّتَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ أَلْسِنَةً حِدَادًا. Imam Ghazali says, I've given you advice. Hide a person's faults, Allah will hide your faults. You don't want to hide faults, let me tell you what will happen. You expose an individual and embarrass them. سَلَّتَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ. Allah will force and Allah will create individuals أَلْسِنَةً حِدَادًا, who will have sharp tongues and they will speak against you. You will have individuals who will shred you to pieces. They will spread rumors about you, and they will say this about you, and they will say that about you. Allah will put these people in this earth. You were unwilling to control your tongue regarding somebody else. Allah will create people who will speak about you and who will spread filth about you and rumors about you. What goes around comes around. It's a statement in English. It's a statement in Arabic. Kama tudan tudin, or kama tudinu tudan. How you do it will be done back to you. Yumazzikuna irdak. They will tear apart your honor fi dunya, in this world. Thumma yafdahuka Allah ta'ala fil akhirah. That's, Allah will leave that to them. Allah will create people who will tear apart your honor, but on the day of judgment, Allah Himself will embarrass you and shame you in front of ala ru'usil mala, in front of every single person. Why? One person's honor you didn't protect. One person's honor. We make tawbah istighfar. He sat here and oh Allah, if we've said anything regarding somebody, we make tawbah istighfar. Never again will we filthy our tongues and use our tongues in speaking regarding someone else. Imam Ghazali, when it comes to this ghiba discussion, he's very firm, because we do this explicit and this implicit ghiba that we do. That how did you find this person? Just a face will make, and he's like this. It's a certain circumstance. For example, you're doing business with somebody and somebody says to you, how did you find them? Say, no, they're not the kind of people that we want to do business with. In those instances, you can speak. You can say, because there's a lot, that's bound with this. But in instances where there's no need for you to say something, You'd rather remain silent than sully your tongue and filthy your tongue. And so Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says that if you don't want to be embarrassed and disgraced in this world, and forget this world is easy. This world is a few people saying a few things, and you can say, you know, these people, they're making rumors. In the hereafter, you have to stand in front of Allah, and Allah will disgrace you. Allah will open up your sins in front of everybody. Then what? Then what? Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says. Then Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says that, look, you know, he said, look in yourself. Do you find a fault? Every single one of us, inshallah, will have said, yes, I have this fault. I have this fault. I have this fault. Imam Ghazali thought, what if there's a person sat here who thinks, I don't have any faults. I can't find any faults. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, this person. وَإِن نَظَرْتَ إِلَىٰ ظَاهِرِكَ وَبَاطِنِكَ. You looked in your external character. You looked in your internal character. You looked at your life in public. You looked at your life in secret. You didn't find any faults. You didn't find any sins. فَلَمْ تَطَّلِعْ فِيهِمَا عَلَىٰ عَيْبٍ. You didn't find anything. وَنَقْصٍ. There's nothing فِي دِينٍ, either in your daily life, your social interactions, the way you deal with family, the way you are with your parents, with this, with that, with your children, the way you are with your religion, with Allah, with His Messenger, with the Sunnah, with the... You didn't find anything. فَعَلَى. You suffice with this information. أَنَّ جَهْلَكَ بِعُيُوبِ نَفْسِكَ أَقْبَعُ أَنْوَاعِ الْحَمَاقَةِ. That your ignorance regarding your own self is the lowest and most depraved form of stupidity and foolishness. Imam Ghazali says, وَلَا عَيْبَ أَعْظَمُ مِنَ الْحُمُقِ. Let me tell you, there is no aib, there is no fault greater than foolishness and stupidity. You didn't find anything? I'll find something for you. I'll find the biggest fault in you, which is stupidity. That you couldn't find a single fault in your own life. You couldn't find anything. وَلَوْ أَرَادَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى بِكَ خَيْرًا. He says that, forget my words, if Allah really wanted goodness for you, and if Allah wanted you to be on goodness, لَبَصَّرَكَ بِعُيُوبِ نَفْسِكَ. Allah grants you the ability to see your faults. To all of you who sat here, if Allah grants you the ability to see your faults, it's a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ability to acknowledge a fault is the first step. The ability to acknowledge a fault and to know that I have this fault in me. One thing is that you're sinning and you're acknowledging that fault. And you're, I'm trying, I'm weak, I'm trying. That's at least better than somebody who's sinning and faulting and say, I don't have any faults. What do you mean I've got a fault? So Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says that if Allah grants you the ability to see faults within yourself, فَرُؤْيَتُكَ نَفْسَكَ بِعَيْنِ الرِّضَى غَايَةُ غَبَاوَتِكَ وَمُنْتَهَى جَهْلِكَ. That you're able to look within yourself, بِعَيْنِ الرِّضَى, and you're happy with yourself. غَايَةُ غَبَاوَتِكَ. This is the epitome of foolishness, وَمُنْتَهَى جَهْلِكَ, and the highest level of ignorance. You should find a fault within yourself. Of course there's a fault within you. Look deeper, look carefully. ثُمَّ إِن كُنْتَ صَادِقًا فِي ظَنِّكَ. But then Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, after he's shot that specific individual, he steps back and he says, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. You might look within yourself and you don't find any faults within yourself. And you might have actually reached that stage where you've worked on yourself and you've controlled your desires and you don't have a fault in yourself. إِن كُنْتَ صَادِقًا فِي ظَنِّكَ. If you sincerely looked within and you didn't find any faults, فَاشْكُرِ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then again he says, وَلَا تُفْسِدْهُ بِثَلْبِ النَّاسِ. Don't ruin this blessing that Allah has given you by slandering others. The fact that you're now going to do ghibah, slandering others, that's going to be a fault. Don't ruin this. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالتَّمَضْمُضْ بِأَعْرَاضِهِمْ. Don't ruin people's reputation. Really, don't ruin somebody's reputation. فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَعْظَمِ الْعُيُوبِ. This is the worst of qualities that you could find within yourself. If you find nothing other than this one thing, that you're perfect, but you want to ruin somebody's reputation, what kind of an individual am I? So this is something that we take seriously. Ghiba. We don't speak about somebody out of turn. And this is the beauty of Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayh. You can't sit in front of Imam Ghazali rahmatullah thinking you'll get away with it. He'll find a way, he'll find a fault in you no matter how hard. And why does he do this? Because we're his students. He's writing this to his students. And he holds us to the same level of scrutiny he holds himself. And you should not hold yourself to any level lower than that. Really grill yourself when it comes to these things. So that's the third one. Al-Rabi', the fourth, regarding the tongue. There's 8. They get smaller now. Al-Rabi', the fourth thing. Al-Mira' wal-Jidal wal-Munaqashatu an-Nas fil kalam. Constantly arguing and debating with people. Arguing, debating, disputing. discussions with people for no reason. فَذَلِكَ فِيهِ إِيذَاءٌ لِلْمُخَاطَبِ. In this, there is harm. You're harming your interlocutor. When you have a debate with somebody, what's your intention? You want to bring that person down. وَتَجْهِيلٌ لَهُ. You want to make them appear ignorant. When you're discussing somebody, you want to show your knowledge and you want to show that this person doesn't know what they're talking about. He's ignorant. And so وَتَعَنٌ فِيهِ. You have to criticize this individual. You have to bring this person down. And he says, that might be okay. That might be justifiable. For example, there might be somebody who's speaking against Islam, and you need to put them in their place. But remember, when you put somebody down, at the same time, you put yourself up. وَفِيهِ ثَنَاءٌ عَلَى النَّفْسِ. You're praising yourself. وَتَزْكِيَةٌ لَهَا بِمَزِيدِ الْفِتْنَةِ وَالْعِلْمِ. He's saying that you're making a claim of superiority, of intelligence and knowledge. That you're making yourself look better. You're making yourself look better. Be very careful then when you're debating. Be very careful. You may have to debate. You may have to be in a situation where you have to debate. You may have to put that person down for the benefit of the religion. But remember that when you have a debate and you win, you'll praise yourself. You'll put yourself onto a pedestal. Be careful that you don't trip in this. He says, ثُمَّ هُوَ مُشَوِّشٌ لِلْعَيْشِ. Debating, discussing, it disturbs the flow of life, the serenity, the peace of life. لِأَنَّكَ why? He says, إِن مَا رَيْتَ سَفِيهًا. If you're going to debate and discuss it with a fool, آذَاكَ. He's just going to annoy you. He's just going to... How many times have you had an argument with somebody and their response is, shh, 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 just make noises, just make sounds, and you're just looking at this person like, do you want to talk or not? Like, seriously, it's so annoying. You're like, let's have a conversation. It's like, no, it doesn't matter what you got to... Just if you debate with a fool, it's just going to annoy you. I'm getting annoyed thinking about it right now. It's just going to annoy you. It's just going to create this, annoyance inside of you that, why is this? What's this guy's problem? He doesn't want to speak. He doesn't want to let me speak either. It just annoys you. وَإِن مَا رَيْتَ حَلِيمًا. And if you debate an intelligent person, قَلَاقَ وَحَقَدَ عَلَيْكَ, then he's going to detest you. He's going to look down at you. Because this person is recognized and this person doesn't know what he's talking about. And so it's either going to annoy you or it's either going to embarrass you. وَقَدْ قَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, مَنْ تَرَكَ الْمِرَاء. That person who leaves an argument. For family members in the home, between your parents, for husbands and wives, for partners, for every relationship there is. This is advice. مَنْ تَرَكَ الْمِرَاء وَهُوَ مُبْطِلٌ. That person who leaves argumentation and they are wrong. Listen to that. You are wrong. You're wrong. You know you're wrong, but you have ego. Every single person has an ego. And you start this argument and then you realize you're wrong. But now you realize that no, it's going to be embarrassing for me to say I was wrong. So you carry on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet says, if you leave your argument whilst you're wrong, بَنَى اللَّهُ لَهُ بَيْتًا فِي رَبَضِ الْجَنَّةِ. Allah will grant you a home on the outskirts of paradise. وَمَنْ تَرَكَ الْمِرَاءَ وَهُوَ مُحِقٌ. That person who leaves argumentation, disputation, fights, and they are right. This is hard. You're in the right, you've got all the proof, but you put your head down and you say, khair, inshallah. بَنَى اللَّهُ لَهُ بَيْتًا فِي أَعْلَى الْجَنَّةِ. Allah will make you a house in the highest stages of paradise. And our teachers would always say that if you have a house in the highest statuses of Jannah, that doesn't mean that's an investment that will sit there while you're sat in a lower status of Jannah. That means Allah will give you the highest statuses of Jannah. Avoid argumentation. وَلَا يَنْبَغِي أَن يَخْدَعَكَ الشَّيْطَانِ. Imam Ghazali says, but then shaitan comes and he tricks us. The deeper level. We know the basics. Don't argue. This is what everybody would say. Don't argue, don't fight. Imam Ghazali says, we're not here to just, we're now going to go deeper. Let's break things down. وَلَا يَنْبَغِي أَن يَخْدَعَكَ الشَّيْطَانِ. Don't let shaitan deceive you. He'll say to you, أَظْهِرِ الْحَقِّ. You need to bring the truth forward. Expose the truth. وَلَا تُدَاهِنْ فِيهِ. Don't shy away from the truth. Don't hesitate from the truth. Say what's true. Speak up. Argue. فَإِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ أَبْدَأَ يَسْتَجِرُّ الْحُمْقَى إِلَى الشَّرِّ فِي مَعْرِضِ الْخَيْرِ. He says, shaitan, abadan, constantly. What's his skill? He says, يَسْتَجِرُّ الْحَمْقَى. He entices the foolish person إِلَى الشَّرِّ, towards evil. He entices us to do evil. How? فِي مَعْرِضِ الْخَيْرِ, with the mirage that it's good. This is what shaitan does. He'll convince you to do something which is evil, but he'll make it look like it's something good. فَلَا تَكُنْ ضُحْكَةً لِلشَّيْطَانِ. Imam Ghazali says, what are you doing? Oh, human being, you have such honor and dignity. What are you doing? Don't become a means of entertainment for shaitan. You're going to let shaitan use you as a means of entertainment? يَسْخَرُ بِكَ. You're letting him make a joke out of you? فَإِظْهَارُ الْحَقِّ حَسَنٌ مَعَ يَقْبَلْ مِنْكَ. When is it good to speak the truth? Imam Ghazali says that speak the haqq, mention the truth, but when? حَسَنٌ مَعَ يَقْبَلُ مِنْكَ. When that person will accept it from you. If you're in a debate, and I say this, so many of the Arabic guys and youngsters have asked, why don't you do debates and why don't you do this? And the response I give to them is simple. If you were involved in a debate with an atheist and they broke all your arguments and they convinced you, would you leave your religion? The majority of people I ask, they say, no, that means there's a fault in my knowledge. I'd go and study further. I said, what makes you think if I convince an atheist that they will leave their methodology? What makes you think they will say, no, you're right? And then especially when you've got a full crowd of 100 and 200, 300 people watching, and they're all watching, what makes you think that this person, even if you destroy them, decimate them, tear them apart, all of the arguments, and you convince them, what makes you think that this person is going to turn around and say, no, you're right, it's the truth. Imam Ghazali says, when you want to present the truth, do it in a situation which is conducive to accepting the truth. When they will accept the truth from you, وَذَلِكَ بِطَرِيقٍ النَّصِيحَةِ. This is what's the situation to give advice and to convince somebody? Nasiha, advice. And genuine advice, where you sit with this person and you give good counsel, serious, genuine counsel. لَا بِطَرِيقِ الْمُمَارَاتِ. Not debating, disputing, and trying to embarrass somebody and all of these things. And he says, وَلِلنَّصِيحَةِ صِيغَةٌ وَهَيْئَةٌ. There's a way to give advice. There's a methodology of giving advice. You don't sit down with somebody to give them advice and say, you're going to burn in hell. You started off on a back foot. Oh, that's no way to start. Somebody says, I've got this problem and I've got this problem and this problem. Yeah, I think you're beyond help, bro. Khalas, it's over for you. Come on, there's a way you interact with people. There's a way. Somebody walks into the masjid for the first time after years and you pull the topi out, force the topi, and you say, put this on your head. Pull your trousers off. What are you doing? Take your socks off. What is this? Dirty. That's not the way you give advice. There's a way you do things. Gradually. Tadrijan. Bringing somebody to the masjid. You don't say, come. Salah, you have to come. You're gonna burn if you don't come for the salah. There's a way. You're not going to bring somebody to the masjid. Imam Ghazali said, وَلِلنَّصِيحَةِ صِيغَةٌ وَهَيْئَةٌ. There's a way. And this is why da'wah has a methodology. And inshallah, we're trying to put together some da'wah sessions and stuff like that with Hamza Totsis and some of the people who are heavily involved in the da'wah movement, etc. Aira and some of these, to come down and deliver these da'wah sessions, and then we can create some sort of a da'wah atmosphere from this masjid, inshallah. وَيُحْتَاجُ فِيهَا إِلَى التَّلَطُّفِ. Ghazali says you need to be gentle. You need to be courteous. وَإِلَّا صَارَتْ فَضِيحَةً. Otherwise, your debate with this person will humiliate this person. And remember, every person has an ego. When you're humiliated, you don't want to be humiliated. You're not willing to then accept the truth. It becomes difficult to accept the truth when you humiliate somebody. But when you sit with somebody and you speak with them and you convince them and you let them reach the conclusions, they'll say, that makes sense. Say, hey, bro, I'm not trying to convince you. We're just having a conversation. But it makes sense. Okay, that's up to you. But we're just talking. And that person will come to. But if you force it down that person's throat, it's like regurgitate, will vomit it out. I don't want this, even if it's good for you. وَكَانَ فَسَادُهَا أَكْثَرَ مِنْ صَلَاحِهَا. The harms are greater than the benefits. Now, I will mention, because there are good individuals in this ummah, even today, who are involved in debates and discussions. There is benefit to debates and discussions. There is benefit to debates and discussion. For who? For the audience. For people watching, there's a benefit. That if a Muslim individual is with an interlocutor and they present good arguments and they break the other person's arguments, it gives you that conviction. It gives you knowledge, you learn something. So there's benefits for the people listening. But Imam Ghazali says that if you are in a situation where you want to convince somebody and advise somebody, the way to go about it is not a debate. You probably won't convince this person. And Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, the harms are going to be bigger than the benefits. And not only have you broken his arguments, etc., but now you've pushed him away from Islam. extremely far away from Islam. He won't be willing to dialogue with anybody else. وَمَنْ خَالَةَ مُتَفَقِّهَةَ الْعَصْرِ. And by the way, those debates, leave them to the people of learning. The people who are doing debates on behalf of the Ummah, they're learned people who spent a lot of time studying these things. They're able to respond. I remember when I studied my master's, in my master's class, Muhammad Hijab, you might have heard of Muhammad Hijab, he was in our class last year. And so when he would go on certain debates, and we'd all kind of help him out, give him a hand and sit, we'd go to, what is it, that place called, No. I would always avoid Speaker's Corner. He would go Speaker's Corner and he would love that. And he asked once or twice, he goes, come Speaker's Corner. I was like, what's the benefit? People are going to debate, discuss, and what benefit comes out of it? I'd rather sit here and speak to you guys, But for somebody like him, he was mentioning as well, it's for him to test his ideas and for him to learn what the people are saying and what the people are thinking, etc. Speaker's Corner is fine. We used to go to Pret a Manger. That's what I was trying to say. We used to go and have a coffee or something like that, and we'd discuss some of the questions that might come up, some of the things, and he would write on his hands and this and that, and make notes and stuff like that. And he was somebody who was learned. He would put effort into it. For those types of people, let them go into it. For us guys, we focus on ourselves. We focus on what we need to do, inshallah. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, but then look, be careful. Some of you might go and study. وَمَنْ خَالَةَ مُتَفَقِّهَةَ الْعَصْرِ. If you end up and you go find some fake scholars, pseudo scholars, غَلَبَ عَلَى طَبْعِهِ الْمِرَاءِ, and they just want to debate and they just want to argue. There are some people out there that you'll see a certain student who's completely normal, and then he starts studying under this person and he becomes argumentative. He's constantly debating with this person and that person. Imam Ghazali calls them pseudo scholars. These are fake scholars. When you study knowledge, the first person it should impact is yourself. The first person it should impact is not somebody else. The first person it should impact is yourself. Later on, when you get down the line, 10 years, 20 years, however long you've studied, then it might start impacting other people with your words, etc. Imam Ghazali says that if you go to somebody and you see in their nature is argumentation, وَعَصُرَ عَلَيْهِ الصَّمْتِ, it's difficult for them to remain silent. They're constantly arguing. Somebody says something and they'll say, oh no, that's not the way to do this. They'll point fingers and they'll this and that. إِذَا أَلْقَى إِلَيْهِمُ الْعُلَمَاءُ السُّوءِ. He says, because corrupt scholars have convinced this person, أَنَّ ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَضْلِ, this is good. No, you need to convince people that this is the truth. Go and tell everybody that this is, forget this and forget that, and the ummah is in this problem. Go debate this mas'ala. Go debate this specific ruling. That you raise your hands here or you raise your hands there. That's what we should be debating. SubhanAllah, that's what you should be debating. On one side, we have people missing salah and not praying salah and questioning iman, and you want to go and debate about where you raise the hands and these things. Imam Ghazali says something then, but it's so worthy to take advice today. He's saying that, أن ذلك هو الفضل. They convince you this is good. وأن القدرة على المجادلة والمناقشة والذي يمتدع به. You should learn how to debate and discuss. And Ghazali says the teacher, that pseudo scholar, that fake scholar will say, you need to learn how to discuss. The true sign of your faith is to be able to argue and debate. Really? Really? The true sign of your faith is to be able to debate and argue? That's what you call a Muslim? When Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ, the only reason I was sent, لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, that I perfect beautiful character. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam is telling you to fix yourself first, fix myself first, and now you're going to this scholar and he's saying, argue, debate. This is how you need to learn this religion. فَفِرَّ مِنْهُمْ فِرَارَكَ مِنَ الْأَسَدِ. Run from these types of individuals, these pseudo scholars, run from them like you'd run from a lion. Don't hang around, protect yourself. وَعَلَمْ أَنَّ الْمِرَاءَ سَبَبُ الْمَقْتِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَعِنْدَ الْخَلْقِ. And know that through debate and discussion, when you aren't learned, you're debating, discussing, it's a means of incurring the hatred of Allah and the creation. You tell me, which friend of yours who argues all the time is liked? Point to one friend in your circle. He's the one who always debates. He's always on arguing. He's always this. He's always like this. He's the one who's hated the most. And if you can't find that one person in your circle, it's probably yourself. That's usually the advice. If you can't finger that one person in your circle, It's probably yourself. But for me, I say this for me, every single person, think, am I that person? Because we have nothing better to do, so we debate. Every time Eid or some sort of gathering takes place with family, debates start. And this person will debate this, and that person will debate that, and this person will debate this and that. And I'm sat on Eid day, because in my house there's very few. I've studied, so in my house, where a debate will kick off with this uncle and that uncle and that, and they'll all turn to me and say, "What's your opinion?" I say, "I'm not getting involved in this. I'm not getting involved in this. You guys do what you need to." And this is the best way. What benefit is it going to make? You're going to spend hours discussing this, and what's going to come out of it? What was the last Islamic debate you had? Do you remember it? Do you remember what the conclusion was? Did you get anywhere? You threw your points, he threw his points, and then you argued with each other, kicked off with each other. You ended up like that. What did you resolve? Did you learn something? No, you didn't learn something. Study what you need. The scholars say, al-aham fal-aham. Prioritize your studies. Learn the things that are important in life first. Then learn that, then learn that. In these Arabic students, I say to them, when they ask me a certain question, if it's not relevant to them, I say at this stage, focus on your Arabic. If it's relevant, if it's something which is pertinent, we'll discuss it. But if it's not relevant, I'll say at this stage, your Arabic. Because once you've got your Arabic, then you'll be able to easily understand the whole breadth of this conversation by reading 2-3 sides. But al-aham fal-aham, prioritize. Number 5, al-khamis, tazkiyatun nafs. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, your tongue, make sure you don't sit there ascribing goodness to yourself. Talking about your praises at I'm next level. I'm like this. I'm like this. Tazkiyatun nafs. فقد قال الله تعالى. Imam Ghazali says, Allah himself says, فلا تزكوا أنفسكم. Don't sit there praising yourself. هو أعلم بمن اتقى. Allah knows who is the God conscious, who has taqwa. What does Allah immediately indicate? Whenever you will praise yourself, you will praise every quality other than your piety. Think about it. Every time you've said something that I'm like this and I have this and I'm good with this and I'm good at that and I'm good at that and I'm like this and I'm amazing, you'll have said every single point maybe, but you'll never say I am the most taqwa, I am the most God-fearing, I have the most taqwa. Allah is indicating that forget all your amazing qualities. هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَى. He knows who's God conscious. He knows who the pious ones are. If you want to compete in something, compete in your piety. And if you're going to say I'm the most pious, no, you're not pious. No, you're not pious. And so that's why. وَقِيلَ لِبَعْضِ الْحُكَمَاءِ. Some of the scholars of Imam Ghazali's time were asked, مَا الصِّدْقُ الْقَبِيحِ. Tell me a truth, like a riddle. So he was like a riddle. He said, tell me a truth that is the most despised of truths. Something which is true, but it's disliked, it's hated. The scholars would say, ثَنَاءُ الْمَرْءِ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ. A person singing his own praises. It might be true. You might have X, Y, and Z qualities in you. But really, when you sing your own praises, nothing is uglier than you singing your own praises. Don't sing your praise. Leave it for somebody else. Leave it for somebody. Don't sit there saying, I'm like this and I'm like this. And if I was to do it, I could have done it like this and like this and like this. I'm really good at this and all of these things. Yet there's certain instances in business situations where you say, we can offer these services and we do these well and etc. That's different. You're showing your professionalism that no, you should take us. In those instances, I'm saying when you're sat amongst your circles and you're saying, I'm way better than him. In my exam, I got this much percent and you got this much percent. I'm better than you. These kind of, it might be true, but it's al-qabih. It's ugly. It's ugly, really. Nobody likes to see this. Nobody likes to see this. فَإِيَّاكَ أَن تَتَعَوَّدْ ذَلِكَ. And Ghazali rahmatullah says, be careful that you don't become accustomed to this. Why? He says you start off by praising yourself, and then it becomes this, you go implicit and you say, you don't say directly, you say, Alhamdulillah, Allah's blessed me, Allah's given me this gift. And like that you say to me, Alhamdulillah, Allah's given me so much, Allah's given me intellect. And you're basically saying Allah's given, but you're saying, yeah, but by the way, I have this, you're praising yourself. You're praising yourself, subhanallah. وَعَلَمْ أَنَّ ذَلِكَ يَنْقُصُ مِنْ قَدْرِكَ عِنْدَ النَّاسِ. Imam Ghazali says, know something very important. The second you start praising yourself in front of people, immediately your honor, your dignity decreases. Your esteem in the eyes of those people decreases. You are saying it to bring your esteem up. Imam Ghazali says, don't be fooled. People aren't stupid. People know exactly what you're doing. Your esteem and your honor and your dignity is decreasing in this person's eyes. Remain silent. Your silence will be something which will raise you in status. وَيُوجِبُكَ مَقْتَكَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَ. And not only that, Allah ends up detesting this person. Why? Allah gave us these qualities. Credit is due to Allah. That's why we say Alhamdulillah. All praise belongs to Allah. Why does all praise belong to Allah? It's a quality in me, because even though it's a quality in you, it's Allah who gave you that quality. Don't plagiarize. One of the worst things you can do in academia is plagiarize. Take somebody else's work. That's what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. This is me, and this is me, and this is me. You're plagiarizing Allah's work. This is Allah, this is Allah, this is Allah. Not you, this is you. We're plagiarizing. Subhanallah. وَإِنْ أَرَدْتَ أَن تَعْرِفَ أَنَّ ثَنَاءَكَ عَلَى نَفْسِكَ لَا يَزِيدُ. He says, if you really want to understand that praising yourself, it doesn't do you any favors. People hate you, same thing. فَانْظُرْ إِلَىٰ أَقْرَانِكَ. Look towards your contemporaries. Look towards your friends. Look towards your brothers and sisters and your cousins, your classmates. Look towards the people who are the same age as you. How do you feel when they praise themselves? And they say, I'm like this and I did this. When they praise themselves, you calm down. Bring them down a level or something like that. Look at this guy getting all big-headed. He's not going to be able to walk through the door after this. You bring them down. Why? Because you don't like somebody talking or singing their own praises. Imam Ghazali says, look towards somebody else. How much do you dislike it? That's the same with you. When you're talking about your fadl, your virtue, and your jah, your respect and amongst people, your dignity. Or when I walk into a room, people stand up for me. You say, sit down. You say, calm down. That's immediately what we say. Because that's how humans are. We don't like it. So if we don't like seeing this quality in somebody else, why do we allow it for ourselves? كيف يستنكره قلبك? How does your heart disapprove of this? ويستثقله طبعك. Your human nature finds it unbearable. وكيف تذمهم عليه إذا فارقتهم. How are you going to sit there criticizing that individual? So when somebody starts praising themselves, Imam Ghazali says, they praise themselves, when they go, you start criticizing this individual. You say, look at this person, he's changed. He's become somebody else. Why? Because you dislike this. فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُمْ أَيْضًا فِي حَالِ تَزْكِيَتِكَ نَفْسِكَ يَضُمُّونَكَ بِقُلُوبِهِمْ. When you go on about yourself and you say, I'm like this and I'm like this, people start hating you. People start despising you. You lose friends. People have this hatred in their hearts. And not only that, it comes to a stage, وَيُظْهِرُونَهُ بِأَلْسِنَتِهِمْ إِذَا فَارَقْتَهُم. When you go away, they'll start bringing that hatred onto their tongue. And they'll say this and this. And some scholars say, if you become the means of somebody backbiting, you could also incur in that sin. You could have controlled, if you had remained silent, you wouldn't have given an excuse for this person to backbite. He'll get his sin for backbiting, but you were a means for this person backbiting. You could be incurred in that sin. You could incur in that sin. As-sadis, number 6, we're almost getting there. Al-la'an, cursing. This is a very basic one. He keeps it short. فَإِيَّاكَ أَن تَلْعَنَ شَيْئًا مِمَّا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. Imam Ghazali says, don't curse people. Don't curse people. Don't say, may Allah do this to you and may Allah do that to you. Allah, I mentioned in the Jumu'ah today, Allah isn't a weapon for you to use when you feel like it. No, don't take Allah's name in vain and say, watch, Allah is going to do this to you. Really? You have the audacity to say that Allah is going to do this to you? Have you ever looked at what you've done to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You know, sometimes we just have to think and never curse any creation of Allah. Imam Ghazali says, min haywanin, whether it's an animal, أو طعام, whether it's food, whatever it is, you don't like some food, don't sit there going, what is this, man? Who cooked this? What is this? You call this food? No, don't say these kind of things. If you don't like it, just leave it, don't eat it. You know, he says, أو تقطع شهادتك على أحد. Don't, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah advises, he says, be cautious not to take an oath على أحد أهل القبلة, upon any Muslim, بشرك أو كفر أو نفاق. Don't ever point your finger to somebody and say, he's a non-Muslim. He's a mushrik, a disbeliever, a polytheist. He's a hypocrite. Never do this. Never do this. فَإِنَّ الْمُطَّلِعَ عَلَى السَّرَائِرِ هُوَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. The only person who is all aware of secrets is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَلَا تَدْخُلْ بَيْنَ الْعِبَادِ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَ. And he brings it under this because he's giving an example that when you curse somebody, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're bringing the worst quality out in this person, saying that this person, look at him. May Allah's punishment be on this person. You're accusing him of something that he's done something wrong. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is saying it's as though you are saying he's a non-Muslim. It's as though you are saying he's a sinner. You're explicitly saying that. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is saying that do not come in between a slave and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That decision is with Allah. And there's a beautiful hadith, an amazing hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this regard, which is narrated by Abi Shaybata. He says, "Ba'athana Rasulullah sallallahu fi sariyatin." The Prophet sallallahu sent a bunch of us in an expedition. And when we got there, we completed our expedition. There was some sort of a scuffle that took place, some sort of a little fight that took place. And they were being attacked, the Muslims were being attacked. And so he says that فَأَدْرَكْتُ رَجُلًا, that I pounced on an individual. فَقَالَ, and I was about to kill him. فَقَالَ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. That person quickly said, لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. فَطَعَنْتُهُ. I still, despite hearing لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, I attacked him with my spear. فَوَقَعَ فِي نَفْسِي مِنْ ذَلِكَ. But then after I did this, I was feeling really guilty. That the person said, La ilaha illallah, and I did this. So فَذَكَرْتُهُ لِلنَّبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم. I went to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. I said to the Messenger of Allah that I made this mistake, I did this. Was it wrong? فَقَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم قَالَ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَقَتَلْتَهُ. He said the words, La ilaha illallah, and you killed this individual? قال قلت يا رسول الله, I said to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, إنما قالها خوفا من السلاح. He only said it because he was scared I was going to kill him. He only said it because he was scared. This is what we would all say. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أَفَلَا شَقَقْتَ عَنْ قَلْبِهِ. Did you rip his heart open? حَتَّى تَعْلَمَ, and you looked at the reality? قَالَهَا أَمْ لَا. Did you open his heart and look into his heart and see whether he's saying it genuinely or he's saying it to protect himself? Did you rip his brain open and look into his brain and see whether he was saying it out of sincerity or he was saying it to protect? How do you know? Who gives you the right to make that judgment? فَمَا زَالَ يُكَرِّرُهَا عَلَيَّ. The Prophet ﷺ continued repeating this. That أَفَلَا شَقَقْتَ عَنْ قَلْبِهِ. That did you really rip his heart open and check? Did you rip his heart open and check? Rebuking this companion. Until this companion says, I felt so ashamed of myself. تَمَنَّيْتُ أَنِّي أَسْلَمْتُ يَوْمَئِذٍ. I wish that was the day I accepted Islam. What does that mean? If I had accepted Islam on that day, it would have been a fresh start for me, and there would have been no issues. I could have had a fresh start in the court of Allah. But it weighed so heavily on me, I'm willing to cancel all my previous good deeds just to get rid of this one sin in my life, that I come fresh on this day and I accept Islam on this day. SubhanAllah. What's the point here? Don't ever point your finger at somebody and say, this person is a non-Muslim. Don't ever point your finger at somebody and say he's a mushrik, he's a munafiq. The scholars, there's books written on takfir, giving the proclamation of kufr. Even the scholars are hesitant when it comes to saying this person is a kafir. Wallahi, I don't see a situation in my life at this stage where I would have to point to somebody and say this person's a kafir. Why would any of us have to? If there's a problem with an individual, say, be cautious with this individual. Maybe his religion is problematic, but why do you have to come out and say he's a kafir? And even the scholars of the past, when they would do it, they wouldn't do it like that. They would say that these are the principles of Islam. If anybody leaves these principles, that person is a kafir. And then they would say, this person has left these principles. We leave his decision to Allah. SubhanAllah. What a beautiful way. This is the framework of Islam. If somebody leaves this framework, for example, the framework of Islam says that the Prophet ﷺ is the final of prophets. There's no prophet after the Prophet ﷺ. Anybody who claims otherwise is out of the fold of Islam. Now, do I have to start pointing fingers and saying this person is a non-Muslim, this person is this? No, you don't. You've said what you need to do. You've established your point. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, why would you ever need to point a finger? And even when you point a finger, it's still from the sara'ir, the secrets that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Why are you getting in between an affair which is between Allah and His slave? Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, وَعْلَمْ أَنَّكَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ لَا يُقَالُ لَكَ. On the day of judgment, nobody is going to say to you, لِمَ لَمْ تَعْلَمْ لِمَ لَمْ تَلْعَنْ فُلَانًا. That why did you not, I'll finish the rest off with you inshallah. Why did you not curse such and such a person? Or لِمَ لَمْ سَكَتَّ عَنْهُ. Why did you remain silent from this person? Allah will not ask us ever on the day of judgment, why did you not curse this person? We're coming to a close inshallah. Why did you not curse this person? Imam Ghazali says, forget a Muslim. Allah will not ask you on the day of judgment, لَمْ تَلْعَنْ إِبْلِيسَ طُولَ عُمَرِكَ. Why did you not curse Iblis? Iblis is somebody who is worthy of cursing. Allah won't ask you even regarding Iblis, why didn't you curse him? So why do you have to start pointing fingers at your own Muslim brethren? وَلَمْ تَشْغَلْ لِسَانَكَ بِذِكْرِهِ لَمْ تُسْأَلْ عَنْهُ. Don't waste your breath. You're not going to be asked about these things. وَإِذَا لَعَنْتَ أَحَدًا طُولِبَتْ بِهِ. If you do make a claim of somebody, you do point your finger at somebody, on the day of judgment you will be held responsible and accountable. Listen to this carefully. In this world, if you say something good regarding somebody, on the day of judgment, Allah will reward you, and He won't ask you for proof. For example, if I say, MashaAllah, Yahya prays his salah at home, I might be wrong that MashaAllah, he prays his salah. I might be wrong, but it's something good I said. Allah will reward me on my good thoughts, but I will not be questioned. Prove it. Why did you say this? Prove it. That was when you have good thoughts regarding somebody, Allah won't question you. But if you say something, if I say he doesn't pray his salah, even if it's true, Allah will ask me on the day of judgment, bring your proof. Even if it's true, Allah won't say, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. I'm not interested in the truth. What was your proof to make that statement? You will have to provide proof. If you say something regarding somebody, you have to have proof. And so Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, if you claim this, you'll be responsible and accountable in the court of Allah. وَسُئِلَتْ عَنْهُ, and you'll be questioned regarding it. وَلَا تُذَمَّنْ شَيْئًا مِنْ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Do not find any fault, forget people, in any of the creation of Allah. فَقَدْ كَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ لَا يَضُمُّ الطَّعَامَ الرَّدِيءَ قَطُّ. Even when the food was of a low quality and the Prophet wasn't fond of it, he wouldn't say anything. وَكَانَ إِذَا اشْتَهَى شَيْئًا أَكَلَهُ. When he liked something, he would eat it. وَإِلَّا تَرَكَهُ. If he disliked it, he would leave it. So Jazakallah, no, I'm okay. I've eaten. I'm not hungry. Whatever. Make some sort of an excuse. Say something. وَإِلَّا تَرَكَهُ. But leave it. You don't have to say, no. It looks like some 3-year-old cooked this food, and even that with one hand tied behind the back, and something like this. No. We don't have to make a comment like that. Jazakallah, barakallah. I've eaten. You're starving, but Jazakallah. It's okay. السابع, number 7, الدعاء على الخلق. The 7th one, supplicating against somebody, making dua against somebody. احفظ لسانك عن الدعاء على أحد من خلق. One is cursing somebody and saying, oh, he's like this, he's a non-Muslim, he's that. That was the last one. This is now making dua against somebody. Protect your tongue from making dua against any of the creation of Allah. وَإِن ظَلَمَكَ, even if they have wronged you, even if they have oppressed you. وَكِلْ أَمْرُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Leave the affair to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deal with it. It even comes in a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ittaqi da'watul madlum. It comes in Bukhari, and be careful of the dua of the oppressed individual. Somebody who's oppressed, don't oppress people. Why? Be careful of their dua. فَإِنَّهَا لَيْسَ بَيْنَهَا وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ حِجَابٌ. There is no hijab, there is no veil between this person's dua and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does this mean? For somebody who's oppressing, control yourself. Be very careful. If this person prays against you, you're in trouble, you're in big trouble. But I'm speaking now to the oppressed, the individual who's oppressed. Think. You make dua against this person, you ruin this world and the hereafter. But you could use this precious dua Allah has given you for yourself. You could make this dua for your benefit, for your akhirah, for your children, for your generations, for some goodness in your life. It's still going to be accepted for you. Why waste it in trying to cause harm when you can use it to bring benefit? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's causing me oppression and harm. Allah, put me in a situation where I'm no longer harmed. Give me protection. Protect me, Allah. Protect anybody from this person's harm. Imam Ghazali is saying, use this dua in a good way. Use this dua in a good way. وَتَوَّلَ بَعْضُ النَّاسِ لِسَانَهُ فِي الْحَجَّاجِ. Hajjaj bin Yusuf, you'll know, there was an individual who was very, very, very severe. He would kill people for no reason, and he was a governor of his time, and he was very oppressive. And some people in his time, they spoke out at length against him. They said this and they said that. فَقَالَ لَهُ بَعْضُ السَّلَفِ. Some of the scholars in the time, they said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْتَقِمُ لِلْحَجَّاجِ مِمَّنْ تَعَرَّضَ لَهُ بِلِسَانِهِ. Allah will take vengeance on behalf of Hajjaj. He's the oppressor. Hajjaj is the oppressor. But the scholars would say, Allah will take vengeance on behalf of Hajjaj for everything the people have said regarding him. Just as Allah will take vengeance on behalf of the people in regard to what Hajjaj has done. Hajjaj has done wrong. Allah will make sure that the revenge is given. But don't use your tongue in a way that's now going to make you held accountable in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so he says that control your tongue when you want to say something regarding somebody else. Don't start accusing people. And this specific one, he says, ad-du'a al-khalq. Don't waste your du'as on somebody else. And the last one, number 8, al-thamin, al-mizah. Al-mizah, don't jest والسخرية, mock somebody, istihza, make a mockery of somebody. Don't take the mick out of somebody. Now Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, now obviously amongst your friend circles, sometimes it's justified. Sometimes somebody deserves, and you have this understanding between yourselves that we'll say this and we'll say that, and it's, you just smile about it and laugh it off and joke it off. Know the limits is what I'm saying. Know the limits. And if you can't control your limits, then just control it. But there's times when you're in your friend circle and you really need to put somebody down, Bismillah, do it. But within your friend circle, you'll know when to and when not to. When to and when not to. فَحْفَظْ لِسَانَكَ مِنْهُ, Imam Ghazali says, he's talking with general people, with people who are, you're coming across on a day-to-day basis, and you don't have this, and you're mocking them to hurt them. Not mocking them to have a laugh. Well, that's one thing, but mocking them to really hurt them. And by the way, you might not be intending to hurt them. You might actually hurt them. And so the safest option, Imam Ghazali says, is why do it in the first place? فَحْفَظْ لِسَانَكَ مِنْهُ فَإِنَّهُ يُرِيقُ مَاءَ الْوَجْهِ. Mocking people, what does it do? It makes you lose status. People don't respect you. It diminishes your respect. وَيَسْتَجِرُّ الْوَحْشَةِ. And it leads people to avoiding you. People are cautious around you. They won't say things around you because this person, you say something and he's going to shoot you. وَيُؤْذِي الْقُلُوبَ. And it hurts people's hearts. وَهُوَ مَبْدَعُ اللَّجَاجِ وَالتَّصَارُمِ. And this is the starting point of arguments, disputes, falling out. You did it as a joke. No, it was only a joke. How many times in our life have we had to say that? It was only a joke. It was only a joke. I didn't mean it seriously. Why are we having to say that? Because we took it too far, and now we have to explain. No, it was a joke. It was just a prank. This, that. Or مغرس الحقد, and it becomes means that you sow hatred in the hearts of people. فلا تمازح أحدا. Don't hurt the feelings and make fun of anybody. وإن مازحك غيرك. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, if somebody else comes and mocks you, فلا تجيبه. Why do you have to respond? Just وأعرض عنهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره. Let them carry on. If they're that kind of person, they'll carry on. They'll pick you, then they'll go on somebody else, and they'll get bored and they'll walk off. Leave it. وَكُنْ مِنَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا مَرُّوا بِاللَّغْوِ مَرُّوا كِرَامًا. Become from those people when something is said which is lagh, which is a waste of time, you pass by without giving them any attention. Don't give them attention. Majority of the time people are seeking attention. Ignore them and watch, especially youngsters. Ignore people who are saying stuff. Don't give them attention. They'll give up themselves. They'll get bored of themselves. And Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi finishes, فَهَذِهِ مَجَامِعُ آفَاتِ اللِّسَانِ. He says, you guys will be tired. This guy is going on and on and on. These are the 8 things which are regarding the tongue. وَلَا يُعِينُكَ عَلَيْهَا إِلَّا الْعُزْلَةِ. And Ghazali rahmatullah says, the best thing for you is going to solitude. Avoid spending time with people. That's the best thing. But if you really need to spend time with people, then أَوْ مُلَازَمَةُ الصَّمْتِ إِلَّا بِقَدْرِ الضَّرُورَةِ. Think before you speak. There's a saying in English which rhymes. Weigh, then say. And weigh your words. Put them on a weighing scale and weigh them. Weigh, then say. And that also rhymes in the Urdu language. Tolo, pir bolo. Weigh, then say. And in the Arabic language they say, لو كان الكلام من فضة فالسكوت من ذهب. If what you are about to speak, you weigh it and you value it and it comes to silver. Only silver? No, don't say it. فالسكوت من ذهب. Silence is gold. Silence is gold. When you weigh everything you're about to say, ask yourself, is this the highest standard that I can say something? Do I need to say this? If not, don't say it. Don't say it. And so, speak when necessary. فقد كان أبو بكر الصديق رضي الله تعالى يضع حجرا في فمه. Abu Bakr رضي الله تعالى would put a stone in his mouth. في فيه. يمنعه من الكلام. And it would make him conscious of that. I need to control this tongue. لغير ضرورة. I'm not saying put a stone in your mouth, but I'm saying that be conscious. Sometimes you need something physical to make you conscious. And so that stone in his mouth, when he'd be about to speak something, you have to push that stone to a side. It makes you consciously think, oh, what I'm about to say, do I need to say it? Bring that stone back. That stone's doing good work. وَيُشِيرُ إِلَى لِسَانِهِ وَيَقُولُ, he would point to his tongue and he would say, هَذَا الَّذِي أَوْرَدَنِي الْمَوَارِدِ. This tongue of mine has led me into so much trouble. He finishes, فَاحْتَرِزْ مِنْهُ غَايَةَ جَهْدِكَ. Control this tongue. فَإِنَّهُ أَقْوَى أَسْبَابِ هَلَالِكَ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. He finishes with that sentence, which is very simple, but very powerful. فَإِنَّ أَقْوَى أَسْبَابِ هَلَاكِكَ. One of the most severe forms of your destruction in this world and the hereafter will be through this tongue. This tongue leads a person to destruction. It breaks families, it breaks homes, it causes so much harm. Relationships, it hurts a person's feeling. Somebody's put so much effort in and you say one statement and you completely break their world. You completely cause them. And that's the indicator that it's time to end, inshallah. So people are, when you want to leave a conversation, someone's calling me. So like this is now our way. So this is the tongue, inshallah. We continue with the other body parts from next week, inshallah. But look, we make a firm intention. This tongue, we work on it. Work on it. Youngsters, tongue doesn't just mean tongue. Don't be keyboard warriors. Don't sit on your mobiles and your laptops and this and say, no, I'm not using my tongue. And texting, somebody on a WhatsApp group says something and you have to make sure that you put him down and you send this gift and that and you embarrass him. Calm down.
You promise and you say wallahi and you break it. Does that make you a hypocrite?
So the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says that if you make a promise and you don't fulfill that promise, then that is one of the signs of nifaq, hypocrisy. There are 3 signs of hypocrisy. And so that individual who does this, they now have within them one of the signs of hypocrisy. And hypocrisy grows within an individual. Hypocrisy is where you show one thing and you do another thing. And it really is something which is disgusting. Where you go to one person and you say, no, really, I'm your friend. And you walk away and this person's placed all his trust in you, and then you turn your back to them and you're basically not their friend. And so it's planted this seed, this one part of hypocrisy inside you. And you never know if that could lead to the next stage of hypocrisy, and where that could lead. Questions? Yes, yeah.
Let's say someone curses you, yeah? They say something, yeah? Then if you leave them, you'll get like if you just ignore it, so you'll get good deeds, right?
Of course.
If you say something, if you curse them back, will you get bad deeds?
So here's what the ahadith mentioned. If somebody curses you, it does depend on the type of curse. So for example, if they say something like, I hope you go to hell. Technically, from an Islamic perspective, you may be permitted to respond with the same thing. But would you? Would you really want to see this person in hell? Would you be happy seeing this person burning? Really, is that how we are as Muslims? And so the scholars will say that if somebody says something to you, in that instant, leave it to Allah. Leave it to Allah. There's no need to respond. If it's something like they punch you, you're allowed to punch them back. Just as. But the problem with punching them back is that how are you going to get it exactly the same amount of punch? How are you going to? And so this is why the scholars say that if you really want to take justice, you can. But remember, you step a little bit further, and you've now oppressed this individual, and Allah will now question you. And he did that wrong. You retaliated, but you retaliated double. You gave 2 punches. So he's forgiven, but now, so the best approach is forgive this individual. And for youngsters like yourself, if somebody is causing problems, don't just sit there forgiving. Take it to an adult. Get an ally involved. Get somebody involved. Go to a parent, go to a teacher and tell somebody. And why do you do that? It's not snitching. If you tell this teacher or you tell this parent, you'll stop somebody else from getting hurt. You'll stop this person causing harm to somebody else. So you might be okay with it for yourself, but don't be okay with it for somebody else. Question, Aswahan. Dr. Sir.
If you commit backbiting, and then you have to ask the person for forgiveness, right? So if you go to them and explain to them what you've said, then don't you create bad?
The scholars have 2 opinions in this regard. The question is, if you backbite somebody and then you have to now seek forgiveness for this backbiting, is it sufficient for you to make tawbah istighfar to Allah, or do you need to go and apologize to this individual and say, bro, look, I'm sorry I said this about you? The scholars have 2 opinions in this regard. Number 1, they say you need to go and tell that person. Why? When you break the rights of somebody else, for example, if I steal Yahya's mobile, it's not sufficient for me to make tawbah. You now have to return that right of his. You have to return that mobile as well. Return the mobile, that will cause forgiveness from here. Then you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So scholars say when you backbite somebody, you've hurt their feelings, you have to ask forgiveness from them. The majority of scholars that I've come across actually say, seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and don't go to that person and ask them. Many people will say that go and tell this person that, I'm sorry, I did backbiting of you, etc. But that will cause more animosity. That will make that person think that, what did you say? No, leave it. No, I'll only forgive you if you tell me what you said. Now you're in trouble. So I said this. Who did you say it to? This person. Also, he was backbiting as well. So you guys are sitting down and having these conversations about me. Do one. I don't want to talk to you. forget it. So it'll cause more animosity. You make a firm resolution that inshallah, and scholars say that on top of that, send some thawab to this person. Isal of thawab. Make dua for this person. Oh Allah, I hurt this person's feelings. I did riba of this person. Oh Allah, forgive my sins. That's why we're here, guys. If you're here for some entertainment and you're here, why do I always say to people that I sit with my laptop in front of me when I'm delivering these talks? Why don't I memorize the script? Because we're not here for entertainment. I'm not here to deliver a play or something. We're here to learn and we're here to change. And so we make this firm resolution that if we've done ghiba, we've hurt somebody, we make tawbah istighfar. And we make genuine intention that never again am I going to speak about somebody. I'm not going to speak about somebody from now on in a way that would hurt them or harm them. And we make this firm resolution. We slip, we make tawbah istighfar again. Questions. Yes, sir.
Regarding people, you were saying something behind someone, but it's also saying in front of someone itself.
Yes. So, yeah.
Islam.
Yeah, so backbiting, in English we call it backbiting because you're speaking about them behind their back. The word ghiba in Arabic, it's also if you say something to their face, you say something that they would dislike, that would fall under the punishment of ghiba.
That wasn't my question, that was a clarification. The question I want to ask was especially when between does that uncommon the ghiba? Because obviously you're going to say something to your children or family members may get offended or upset with what you said, but you're telling the truth.
So there are instances where you can say something which is going to hurt the person's feelings, but it's for their benefit. And the scholars generally say it's for islah, for reformation. So for example, a teacher might say to a student that you said this, that was incorrect, that was out of place. You shouldn't have said that. I don't think that was befitting of your character. Or there's a child who goes to somebody's house and they stop playing with the toys and they break this toy and that toy. And you say to them that, look, I don't like this in you that you go to people's houses and you touch stuff. You shouldn't do this. That's Islah, that's reformation. In those instances, it's permissible. And you might have to say something that, I don't like, look, when you go to other people's houses and you eat, don't open your mouth and eat like that. Close your mouth and eat. There's a way to it. So these things might hurt the person, but it's for tarbiyah. Now, this person has to think tactically how you say it. If you're saying it to a partner, if the wife is saying to the husband, you always eat like this, or the husband says to the wife, you always do this, it's not going, you're not going to fix the problem. You're going to aggravate the problem. You're throwing fuel to the fire. The way you say it is, that let's learn the sunnahs of eating.
If someone is doing ghiba, by you correcting that person doing ghiba, isn't that also become ghiba as well?
How so?
Well, if someone is doing ghiba, but you're now trying to correct them, maybe it's done, you do it publicly, you hate them, but you should be saying it. Now you can embarrass him because he done something wrong.
Okay, when somebody sins, look, when somebody has the audacity to sin in public, they should have the courage then to take the repercussions and the consequences of that public action. If you're going to sit here and sin in public, then you better be ready to be exposed in public also. We're not exposing the individual. You will tactfully move away from the subject. You'll say something like, why are you wasting your breath on this individual, man? Let's talk about something else. Guys, why are you always bringing these depressing subjects and this and that? And everybody like, yeah, man, he's depressing. Let's talk about something else. And you switch it over. And so you tactfully move away. But to tell this individual that this is wrong, and if you don't have that courage, get up and walk off. If they are genuinely your friends, they will realize that, he doesn't like it. And you'll see that. There's certain people who will have this attitude where if ghiba takes place, they'll get up and walk off. And the next time, they'll be like, he's here. They'll be cautious around this individual because they know that respect his rights. He doesn't want to get involved in this stuff. And so you've now created an atmosphere around you, ghiba doesn't take place. Inshallah. Abdurrahman.
I have 3 questions from last week. Right?
No. Qada is gone. Khalas. Ask me that in private, inshallah. Other questions for today. Any questions for today? We'll come back to you at the end, inshallah. Question.
This one's about lying. When seeking a wife, or if a wife is seeking a husband, and they have a specific criteria, and they want to ask a specific question, for example, do you give zakat? If that person knows that they don't give zakat, is it okay to lie in that instance for potential marriage?
In this instance, is deception taking place. In this instance, you're lying and saying, I give zakah. That's deception. I would say no. Why? Because you are predicating this marriage on this understanding that you give zakah. And when the marriage will take place and you're not giving zakah, it's going to cause massive turmoil. And so to lie in that instance, it's not bringing people together. It's bringing people together is where these two were friends, some disagreement took place, and then you bring them together. But to lie in regards to the question, just in case the sisters didn't hear, is if there's a person seeking marriage, a partner, and for example, one of the sides says, do you give zakah? You don't give zakah. And you say, no, I don't give zakah. You say, yes, I give zakah, to try and make this marriage happen. In that instance, that lying would not be permissible. Because, and I would say that for this individual, the concern is greater that zakah should be given. And what did I say? Put yourself in a position where you never have to lie. Give zakah. And this person then gives zakah. And you know, the Dr. Sab, I think he was in Ramadan, he sent me an amazing video of there was a scholar who had this cake. And he cut the cake and he cut it again and he cut it again until he cut it into 1/40th. And the little sliver of